We are 53 days into a conflict that has closed the Strait of Hormuz, sent oil prices surging $15 a barrel in a single week, and now produced a diplomatic collapse in Islamabad that nobody quite saw coming. Or maybe everybody did. The second round of U.S.-Iran peace talks was supposed to happen this week in Pakistan, but the delegations never met, and the world is now left asking whether this was a failure of diplomacy or a calculated power play. Joining me now are Marcus Webb, our defense and security analyst, and Sophia Reeves, our economics and markets editor. Welcome to you both.
Thanks, Emma. Good to be here. Look, what happened in Islamabad this week is significant, not just because the talks collapsed, but because of how they collapsed. You had American C-17 military transports already on the ground in Pakistan. J.D. Vance's press pool was literally staged at Andrews Air Force Base waiting to board. This wasn't a quiet diplomatic retreat. This was a very public, very deliberate signal from Washington. And I think the key question now is whether Trump extended the ceasefire indefinitely because he genuinely wants a deal, or because he's decided the blockade and the military pressure are working well enough that he doesn't need to offer Iran a face-saving off-ramp just yet. The Fox News reporting from Islamabad made clear that Iran hadn't publicly committed to sending anyone, and the former CIA station chief, Dan Hoffman, flagged something that worries me more than the summit collapse itself, which is the intelligence picture on Chinese resupply. If Beijing has been shipping manpads and ballistic missile components to Tehran during the ceasefire window, that changes the battlefield calculus significantly when this thing restarts.
Sophia, what is the economic picture telling us right now? Because Brent at $105 extraordinary, isn't it?
Well, yes, and the number that really jumps out is that $15 weekly gain. That's not a market reacting to noise. That's a market pricing in genuine fear. What's interesting is that we're actually sitting below the $110 threshold. And the reason for that, according to oil price reporting, is specifically the hope around the Islamabad talks. So here's the paradox. The talks collapsing should push oil higher, but the ceasefire extension is doing just enough to keep a lid on it, for now. The Strait of Hormuz stays closed, the blockade continues, and every day that goes on, the pressure on global energy markets compounds. And then you layer on top of that what Foreign Affairs is flagging, that Trump goes into his Beijing summit next month already weakened by this crisis, which means China has leverage on trade, on fentanyl, on the South China Sea, all of it. The economic and geopolitical threads here are genuinely inseparable.
Marcus, final thought. Realistically, where does this go from here?
My assessment is that we're heading for the middle scenario, a frozen conflict that neither side can afford to end cleanly or escalate openly. The CBS analysis from Sam Vinograd made a point I keep coming back to, which is that we don't actually know if whoever Iran is sending to these back-channel conversations has real authority within Tehran's fractured power structure. That's not a small problem. That's potentially a fatal one for any agreement. Look, Pakistan still wants this deal because their rehabilitation as a regional power depends on it. The ceasefire is indefinite, and both sides have domestic audiences they're playing to. I think we see more rounds of this, talks that almost happen, ceasefires that keep extending, until one side's internal politics forces a decision. The worst case, and I don't want to dismiss it, is that Iran plays what it's calling its new military cards, and we're back at war before Trump reaches Beijing. That would be a very bad week for everyone.
Thank you both. Marcus, Sophia, really important context tonight. Appreciate it.